It's a strong versus weak thing.
Yeah,
and you know, Grimes sounds dirty, and Johnson sounds like a regular guy.
So this could be a test of true Tea Party strength. And then let us not forget the treasurer's race, where Casey Crosby is attempting to be the first female Republican elected statewide against Todd Hollenbach, who's got name recognition for good or ill. Recently got a very nice endorsement from Crip Llewellyn, and that's out there as well.
I think the polling in these races can be misleading because you know, they anticipate a much larger turnout. I do think that there is a chance we could make some history and have somebody down ballot elected, a Republican elected down ballot when the Republican candidate for governor was not. I've said publicly that Bob Farmer is not qualified to be agriculture commissioner. Comer has a lot of Democratic support and has a shot. In the Secretary of State's race, I'm surprised Grimes hasn't been on TV already. Evelyn has bought TV for later in the month. I don't think there's much of a race. In the AG's race, I think that Jack Conway has actually done a pretty decent job as Attorney General, even if he doesn't want to be Attorney General. He appeared at a forum last night at UK on open government issues, and you know, he was an engaged, informative, and responsive public official and candidate. And we scheduled that forum to accommodate Todd DePoole's schedule, and then he pulled out. I think that there's a real question about his ability to engage on the issues that really matter in the Attorney General's race. But I also think there's a lot of people out there who want to go cast their vote against Barack Obama. And they can't bring themselves to do that through David Williams, so they may pick Todd DePoole. So, your questions? Or comments? Disputations?
Have all political issues in the history of humankind been resolved? You know?
Is it too late for David Williams to announce a new running partner?
Yes. Yeah, the law creates a slate, so you can't, they have to give back all the money or offer to give it back. It's just, you can't do it.
You know, it wasn't that long ago that Richie Farmer was pondering whether to run for governor himself, and he gave it serious thought.
Actually, if Richie moved out of the state or died or suffered a severe disabling condition, which has never been defined by the courts, David could have another running mate, but it's not going to happen.
We talk about another dimension that you haven't talked about, which is, you know, the race at the top is all being run on the conservative side of the spectrum. I mean, you've got Steve Beshear running ads about cutting the size of government. His latest ad is about taking on the EPA. So I guess, is this the real Steve Beshear? I mean, this isn't the same Steve Beshear.
No, it's not the real Steve Beshear. It's the Steve Beshear of circumstance.
What does that say about politics in Kentucky?
We're a fundamentally conservative state.
And it reflects the national mood as well. Of course, Beshear has no plan for, even if there was money, no one knows what he would choose to do with it. But really, you could, as I was indicating, you could almost make the case that Beshear is as reflective of the Tea Party, where the Tea Party is, because he doesn't want the government doing much of anything, whereas Williams is proposing government action. And for a lot of people right now, the less the government is doing, the better. But
actually, I think Steve Beshear at his core wants government to do things.
Oh, yeah.
He's just been in a budget situation where it has to do less.
Here's what to watch for with Beshear. Right now, he's got a huge lead and no issues, no platform, so he may not have a mandate. He'll throw something out there 10 days before the election when he feels that his lead is safe, and then try to claim he has a mandate to do it.
Is that a prediction on your part?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Write it down. It's on video.
John has a question.
Who besides David Williams with the Republicans, could the Republicans have put up against Beshear?
Well, he ran against Phil Moffitt, who was a fresh guy with ideas. He just didn't have the money, and the Tea Party organization was just not handed over to him like he thought it might have been. You know, he really damaged Williams badly by keeping him under 50% primary. It's kind of like what happened to Chandler in the 2003 Democratic primary. You failed to win the expectations game, and that depresses your fundraising and everything else. Who else?
A lot of Republicans right now are suffering some buyer's remorse, I think. I hear a good many say, Moffitt could have run closer to Beshear than Williams is going to.
I think so, too.
I mean, also, just going back to the earlier question, Gatewood Galbraith is out there, and Gatewood has become a caricature, which I think is a shame, because I think there's actually a place for a lot of the issues with which he's identified. I think there should be a serious candidate in this race arguing for what I would call fiscally conservative, socially liberal positions.
Except he's against abortion now.
He is, but I really think there are a lot of people in Kentucky who are in that place, fiscally conservative, socially liberal.
Or at least libertarian socially.
Yes, and they're not being they're not getting a spokesperson who's credible. And if there were debates with all three candidates, it would be great to see someone making that argument on a platform.
There will be a debate among the three candidates next week.
And Beshear will praise soldiers in response to every question.
Well, you better.
What do you think about tax reform? Our military is the greatest.
The commercial TV stations are hosting a debate at Richmond at Eastern. And then there will be another one on KET on Halloween night, as it would happen. Any other questions? Yes.
I was wondering if you think the fact that both gubernatorial candidates and Mr. Poole are going after the EPA is something related to the economic situation, or is it a phenomenon on its own?
Well, I think the coal industry has won the argument in Eastern Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky used to be pretty divided over the whole question of strip mining, but the nature of the industry has changed. The industry just bought out a lot of people, and you have a severe population loss in Eastern Kentucky. I think the prevailing view over there is that the way coal is mined in Eastern Kentucky today isn't all that bad. And the EPA is not in agreement with that. It does, in fact, violate the Clean Water Act as written, and they're trying to enforce the Clean Water Act for once. That's what drives the issue. You have a significant segment of the population for whom that is a voting issue, and a significant segment of contributors for whom it's a contributing issue.
Yeah, I lament that there's not a Theodore Roosevelt Republican in the field, because I personally believe that mountaintop removal mining goes beyond the ordinary notion of property rights. I can do this because it's my private property, because the consequences are so widespread with the clogging of the streams and the pollution of the water and the extent to which it affects those well beyond. Now, I don't love the Obama regulatory approach. I think it's heavy-handed in a lot of instances.
May even be illegal.
That's right. But I wish that the state was exercising more of a role. And then I think that the media has done a decent job recently in flagging the long-term issue that responsible leaders would be talking about, which is the coal industry, whether it's surface mining, underground mining, mountaintop removal mining in Eastern Kentucky, is going away. And we're going to have a region, coal has always been boom or bust over in Eastern Kentucky. And, I'm from London. I say it's Eastern Kentucky, but it's kind of the last stop before real Eastern Kentucky. But that region without coal is really in a fix, but we have no visionary thinking in that regard, and this campaign has been devoid of it. It's only been about this posturing and prancing about, it's not to say there's not legitimate concerns about the EPA, but there are bigger issues to be dealt with. One thing we haven't talked about is redistricting. You may not care about it, but that's going to be big and serious, and your all's congressional district is going to be affected by it. So we may be out of time, but leave here thinking about redistricting.
And I don't want to let the occasion pass without responding to what John David said about Washington. We are having an important philosophical debate about the role of government. Of course, that's been the debate about our government ever since it was created. You know, how strong a role should it have, and how much money should it get, and where should that money come from? But I think that the blame for our let me put this another way. How many read The Economist magazine? The cover of The Economist, the world's greatest newspaper, they call themselves a newspaper, has a picture of a black hole. And it says, if politicians don't do something about the world economy soon, be afraid. Now this relates to the euro and sovereign debt in Europe and so on, but a very important part of it is fiscal restraint in Washington at a time when fiscal stimulus is needed. You know, you can say what you will about the Obama stimulus package. It was inefficient, badly designed, badly executed, but it did keep the recession from being deeper than it was. And it's just plain and simple economics that if you put some money into the economy, it does have a stimulative effect. And now, so we have proposed tax cuts and other measures that should have a stimulative effect. And yet we are stuck in a partisan gridlock up there, waiting for the next election. Folks, the next election is more than a year away. We have representatives of our 2 United States senators in the room. You can go back and tell your employers that they are engaging in a dereliction of duty if this country does not pass something to stimulate the economy within the next 3 or 4 months.
Actually, why don't you go back and tell them that while we need growth-oriented policies, we do not need more borrowed money stimulus, taking dollars out of the private economy, channeling it inefficiently through Solyndra and the government, and then pumping it back in. We do need austerity and growth policies at the same time. I would submit that our senators are doing a fantastic job of pursuing those things. And yesterday when Senator McConnell attempted to attach the Obama, whatever he calls it today, second stimulus jobs plan, to the China currency regulation, and Majority Leader Reid was panicked and would not even take it up, is just the example of politics that are being played. Obama missed it.
Harry Reid knew he didn't have the votes.
That's right. So
you got 23 Democrats up for election next year, and they're appropriately scared to death.
So the president should stop going around with this dog and pony show that he's doing. But the president missed a huge opportunity when Simpson Bowles, his commission, reported back a plan that had the grand bargain that he later said he wanted without ever putting out a plan of his own. It had Republican support. It had comprehensive tax reform that was perhaps doable. That was his opportunity to be credible and be believed, and he forfeited it. And now nobody believes him. And
yeah, I hold no real brief for Obama on that point, because he did pass up the great opportunity that Simpson Bowles gave him. But I believe that we have devolved into a situation where action is needed, and the Republicans are resisting action because they want Obama to